Broken silence.
Broken silence.
Broken silence.
Broken silence.
Broken silence.
No, no.
It's like
Not
it's that
com-
fear.
not
If
completely.
you tell, can you imagine the empowerment if the truth was known widely, like who you are as a people, the way you've come from. A lot of people still see themselves as coming from slavery. That they don't go, and beyond that, they just picked you up from Africa. That's what you.
And that's about as far as
The story begins.
Yeah,
Exactly.
Yeah.
The story begins at slavery.
Yeah.
No, Bridget, where was I before the slavery? Like, where did I come from before the slavery?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
Yeah,
it's just like, yeah, exactly.
Then you
and
see
that's true, it's so true, you know, because look, even like us being been raised in the UK, or some that would have come into the UK and then got raised, even after the whole Black History Month or whatever, it stops at Africa. You take it from Africa, and then you got either take it to Americas or you understand,
Take it to the Caribbean,
and then that's where it stops. And but there's nothing else, so it's like, okay, but what was happening before that time? You don't ever get anything.
Nothing.
people don't want to hear it.
No.
Black people these days, that they don't want to hear about the trauma of slavery. They're done with that. And then you do the other thing that we hear about, which is good, is what's celebrated after slavery. So okay, you get your inventors and the first black man to do this, the first black woman to do this, but it's almost feels like it's not enough. It's not enough to just hear about the 1, 2 that people that were so-called great. Why don't you tell me I was a king or queen and I ruled? But you can't get the people to have that truth.
Give you the power. That's what I'm saying. It still comes back to that, us wanting to be validated by a white counterpart. Even that was given the example of, what's her name again? What's the MC's name again?
Oh, what, Miss Dynamite?
Yeah, Miss Dynamite, taking the, was it the MBE?
Yeah.
Like, she felt conflicted to do so, but she decided to go to the Queen to get that validation of recognition, to see what you've done a lot in music. The Queen's giving you this validation, but what is that? A white hierarchy, like a white higher woman is giving you that validation. Why do you need that? Yes, you've done a lot for music, but you can say within yourself, yeah, I've done a lot for my people in music. Why do you need someone to validate that? Like, do you see what I mean?
I mean, personally, my opinion on that would be Miss Dynamite for music. Okay. She done. She's clearly done more than I'm aware of. For starters, and B, they still go to the stereotypical mold of let's make them half black, half white, and then put them on a pedestal. Whether it's Bob Marley, whether it's Obama. Now it's Dynamite.
Sorry, does Beverly Knight have an MBA?
Right, now she would have done. She would.
Honestly, she doesn't even have a star on the Birmingham Walk of whatever you want to call it. Like, she's not validated at all, and her music's positive. Do you know what I'm trying to say? And she's black.
My thing is, when was the last time Miss Dynamite? I'm not trying to put her down, right?
No,
she might have done a lot for a certain scene, but when was the last time she put music out? Like, I don't get.
Her brother.
Carla has done a lot more.
Yeah.
If there was an MBE given to him, I would have someone.
Which ain't going to happen because
he's actually doing something.
Oh, 100%. Yeah, you definitely would.
But it's like how people in the Oscars, they still kind of seek validation from all that, and the Grammys, and they come out and I think it was Kevin Hart. The other day, he was going to host the Oscars? And then because of some tweet he made years ago about the LGBT community, he then had to turn it down. But even going on that platform, he felt so honoured, or like he was at the pinnacle to even be asked to host that event. And it's just, we're always seeking it, regardless of that kind of. We just always need that validation. We're not really interested in starting our own or getting, doing good work without having the white man validate what we do.
But who was that? There was that poet. You know, he's got the one that talks about coloured. You call me coloured, but when you're
right when you're green.
Yeah, Benjamin something.
Zephaniah.
Yeah, Zephaniah, that was it. Yeah, but Zephaniah, he was offered that award and he turned it down. That's clearly like, no, I know who I am. I don't need your validation. You don't need to give me no MBE for my poetry. I know who I am. I don't need that. So then there's that level of there's a divide between the ones who are woke, I don't need that, and the ones who seek after that and are like, yeah, I need you to recognise what I've done. Then this goes to show the state of our people today.
It's quite divided, and I reckon a lot more of them would have sought for the validation than who would have actually dismissed it.
But then it don't help as well, because obviously you've got like the young ones who are so engrossed in like the media. So like me growing up, I used to watch like MTV a lot. I had MTV Base, you had understand like all of that. And you've got people like say the likes of like Beyonce, for example, who already was a fair-skinned sister, but then you then bleached yourself on top of your fair skin to get more validation in the industry. That's crazy. So then you've got young people growing up thinking, okay, that's what I need to do for me to get validation. You get people like Nicki Minaj.
Yeah, she started black.
Nicki Minaj, you was black. You understand? Maybe a little bit fairer than I am now. But then you've obviously bleached out your skin. You've got the big boobs. You've got the big breasts, the backside, everything. And it's like you're not having to do all of this just to get validation. And it's like so in order for you to be successful in this, whatever you want to call it, industry, Hollywood, whatever, that's what you have to do.
It just makes me wonder, like, if we were told from the onset that Christ was actually a black man, how much difference would it have made to us as a nation if we had known that? If there was no Caesar Borgia, white Jesus pictures up everywhere, what would our mindset be today if that was the case?
Question is, how long would slavery lasted under such a circumstance? Because this was one of the major tools that kept us in bondage. So it's like, one second, the God you guys worship is actually a black man, yet still you've got me in slavery. You don't want so many people rebelling one time. He was a necessary evil for them, for the whole thing to work.
So say we're screaming it today, Christ is a black man. Now what are our people going to do with that information now?
Oh, that's good.
Now they've convinced us that the colour don't matter.
Yeah.
When he was a white man and we accepted that, it was alright. But now we're convinced that the colour don't matter. It doesn't matter if and I've had our people tell me that. It doesn't matter if he's pink, yellow, whatever he is. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So now, proving it does matter to them that he's actually a black man. So it did the damage. But I reckon if my grandmother, because my grandmother has this thing where she says, anything too black, no good.
No good. These type of things.
And she was there in black and ugly. Those are the things. She had the white in Jamaica. That you get a calendar each year. Like business places would give them out, and it always had the white Jesus, Caesar Borgia picture, and then they all have some white hands with the
sacred
thing
heart
in the middle.
sometimes.
In the middle. Now she had that up in her house, so for her that's imprinted in her head. She actually saw or knew that the real Christ was that black man that she said anything too black not good. That would not be a statement. But her idea of what was good was that white Jesus.
Imagine that one image. How can the one image just conjure a whole? That's crazy.
Then pseudoscience works. Psychology. It's just about grooming. Until something is, you repeat the lie so often it becomes
generational.
Self-hate, it's knowing that we're made in the image of the Most High and that we do resemble Him, like melanin is a gift and that
100%.
we are His favoured children. It's owning it and saying like we are worthy.
But the problem is now we're so far gone from knowing who we are as a people that it's damaged us as a whole. So even down to
rebuild seems impossible.
Well, see, this is the thing, because then down to even you as obviously you look at a lot of relationships now, black men who don't feel like they can go for their own because that one image has been so embedded in their head that they feel like, well, I don't want to go for my own because I've been told that this is not good enough. So I'm going to now go to another race because, again, I'm getting validation just like they do in the industry, but it's the same thing, just in normal, ordinary life. I get validation from being with a whole other race.
It's that as well, but obviously you got to think, because people are in the mentality like, what about my kids? they're going to have it even worse than I did in the world. The world's just getting worse. Like, you think about back in the day and the slavery, like, nothing's changed. You're watching the news and they're still hanging people. They're still doing all this stuff. So I'm going to get with this black person, like a man or a woman, whatever. My kids are going to be black. They're going to suffer. So I'm thinking for them to have their lives be a little bit more easier, let me just make their skin a little bit lighter, or let them fit in more. It plays with your mind. You know what I'm saying?
So I don't even think some of them have that thought that deep. I actually think genuinely some of us are programmed to believe it's our idea of beauty. What is beautiful? And because we're taught, we see so much images of what is beautiful. Like Beyonce, used to bring up Beyonce. She's had like blonde hair for about 20 years.
It's true.
20 years. Now,
It's so true.
she's supposed to have what black people call good hair. So the good hair alone can do. You still had to make it blonde and promote that image. I think she had a commercial with Revlon or something. And now she was a bit lighter, etc. Then you have this whole Kardashian era where they've got black features, but then they've got the straight hair and all of the other qualities that are men. And I've heard a couple of I've heard men say now white women are being built differently. So now you see a lot more white girls with
with
the shape, the curve. So you're not back in the day. You'd be like, okay, as a black woman, I've got the better body. But now they're doing so much things that so it's our idea of beauty.
But it comes down to childhood, because all the little Disney princesses were white. Barbie and Ken were white. All the dollies, Miss Baby, all gone. He was white. And it's only in our time now that I'm seeing the black Barbies with the afro hair.
And even then they cost more than the same doll.
So how can it be like in our generation now we're just seeing these black dollies? You see what I mean? So you are battling that age-old image of white is better.
Well, the black doll that I didn't have that my mom got me as a child, she didn't have my hair in the middle. That black doll had so we call my dolly alopecia because she had even if I had the black doll back then, I'm talking about early 90s, she had my hair.
No,
so you understand? You're expecting black people to have no good
like
hair,
even just
nothing,
not beautiful. Like you would see all the other dolls with their nice like makeup all done and everything, and then you see us like with probably the hair off like crazy, not cut right, you know all that kind of stuff. Like you're not gonna want to pick that.
Or straight when it was just straight.
Exactly.
That's not
that's well.
But that's what I'm saying. They've done such a good job of breaking us down. Like when I'm scrolling through my Instagram, every other picture is of these makeup tutorials and how to attach the wig to your head and give yourself edges with the wig. Like what? But then you want to celebrate yourself as a black woman with all these white European features, and I'm like, how do you do that? Because when you was born, that wasn't what you're not like that when you're born. So how are you celebrating a fake version of yourself? It doesn't make any sense.
And I think when it came to, for example, the effeminization of men during the slavery process, I think only now it takes its effect, because now the women have gotten to the potential of or the maximum of their power. Okay, we can do this, we can do that, we can do this, and the guys have gotten to their actual negative of, you know what, she's always been in power, I've got no confidence to do this, that, or the other. So now what's happening is the roles are reversing. Guys will go to a white girl because, well, you know what, she's a lot more docile as far as they're concerned, because you guys have been brought up to be so self-sufficient and independent during their brainwashing of the black man. So I think their long-term game worked very well. And it's now a process of rebuilding the black man in order for him to get to the level where he needs to be.
But you know what, like now I'm just thinking, it's like, so that you can make a comparison, like you've got these black women that do want like to have these European features. When you actually think about your life is much harder. Like you have to be that strong woman, independent, or to carry your man. You've got to do it. It's not light work. You're not saying white people got it so easy, but they've got it easier than the black woman. But it's like you can't. It's like you're trying to attain something that doesn't exist. Your reality is very different to that of a white woman. Yes, an illusion. So you're still gonna have all those things that the black woman faces.
Struggle, but now you're just looking. Now you say sold out.
Yeah, it's like you're trying to sell out to an image that is not you. Like you ain't. It's not light work for you. Why would you want to do that?
But I think some of them feel that they have to do that because that's what the men like. Because when you look at actually the majority of white men that go with black women, they tend to go with the more natural looking black women than the more made up ones are actually the ones that go out with black men. So it's probably a reflection of what our men are looking for, or what we think our men want. The straight hair, the straight nose, the fairer skin. So we're trying to fit in and recreate that.
So then what comes with the idea that probably, lots of these relationships, especially when you're outside of, for example, the laws and commandments, they don't tend to necessarily last that long. Is it because of the pretense of, okay, I'm looking all European, but I'm still genuinely a black woman? Him then actually having the perception of wanting a European woman, but just going for a black woman that looks like European, he then still remains docile and still not at the required level to be in that sort of relationship. So it continuously breaks the family structure and it doesn't last.
Do you know what I see sometimes? Like, I live in Essex, so I see like a few kind of black men that are with white women. And I don't know if anyone else has made this observation, but I always tend to see that they're kind of behind. See that we're coming from that state like where we're trying to be equal, but there is maybe like an innate part of us that might feel that we're less. When I see these relationships, I do always like the man will be carrying the bag, pushing the trolley, but trailing behind it. It doesn't seem like there's equal power. Do you see what I mean? They're not standing strong and firm next to their woman. It's more like a...
Yeah, you're probably absolutely right. And then he reacts different if it was a black woman in front.
Yeah.
So you see where the propaganda has taken place.
Yeah.
Now, if he goes back to a country that's predominantly black, you'll see him taking the lead. Is usually the case. But once you're in their setting and their environment, he will fall back and he would seem happy to fall back. But try that with a black woman, he'd be like, yo, you understand, man fair lead and you see me? So he needs, the male do need a lot of reconstruction. We're all hurt, but the positive for the females is as much damage as was caused, you were at least elevated to a point where you can, whether it's an illusion that there is a level of power, but it has caused independence, whereas it caused the men to become dependent. And we're still dealing with that.
Yeah, that's where we are today.
I think also one thing people don't like to say out loud because it feels like we're bashing single mothers, but because the household is broken.
Totally.
A lot of mothers are grown men or bought children that they wouldn't even want to marry themselves. In that, there's nobody in the home to teach that boy how to be a man. A woman can't do that. And so a lot of our men are coming from homes where they are mummy boys. They don't know how to kind of stand on their feet, how to the qualities it requires to be a man. And I think what we're seeing nowadays is products of that. So you've got a lot of men walking around that the women are thinking, you ain't nothing. Like, they don't respect them. And it says, men need women to love, to respect them. That's how they perceive love. And we don't have a respect for our black men because actually we don't see them as reaching that far, being adequate. And I think that's a breakdown because enough, I'm not saying that's a woman's rule, but enough fathers aren't in a home. One thing I will say in some cases though, as a woman, it says daddy maybe, mommy, is it mommy's baby, daddy maybe? So I think we have to put more choice, choose better men. Not based on our loss of what we want, actually is we need to choose fathers rather than a husband. I don't know if that the qualities that would be a father rather than. And what happens is when the women become pregnant, is a point in which their maternal instincts kicks in, and they're like, okay, I need to sort my life out. I need to do this. I might need to go back to school. I need to do that. I need to do all these things. So, and it's almost expected that for the man it kicks in at that point as well, and it doesn't. It doesn't kick in, and all of a sudden he's a deadbeat, or he ain't doing that, or he ain't this and he ain't that. But actually, it doesn't work like that for women and men.
It's two totally different animals.
And I get what you're saying, like not to keep knocking our men, but to like encourage them. I totally understand it, but I feel like there does come a point where our men do have to step up as well. Like black women have been screaming this whole, you guys need to do better for the longest time. Like we've been screaming, come on, black men, we need you to step up. We need you to step up. So I think there does come a point where black men do need to kind of think about what we're saying now and reflect on it and say, okay, now what can I do to step up to be that man?
Yeah, and I mean, as brothers who are, I mean, it should be a general thing for the brothers, but I mean, for brothers that are in the truth, we already know it's Christ first, right? Then the man. So regardless of what we feel about the situation, the onus is on us to fix ourselves if this is being broadcast by our counterparts. The female, it's on us to raise that game, elevate that level. So I can't say no from that standpoint. That the men do have a lot of work to do.
And also I feel like, like how black men have been broken down a lot. And it's like on a societal level, like in terms of gaining, they're trying to reach that same levels of counterpart in regards to that, like owning property, and they're trying to, having a car and, money, whatever. They're trying to attain that aspect of things, whereas the other, like family, they're willing to kind of sacrifice that
the family
in order
for
to
the financial gain.
So they're focusing on something, but we're like, have a look at this side of things.
Spiritual first, because the material will always be capped for the brothers. Like you will always you will get the job interviews and such is harder for you to attain those goals. So it's better you work on your spiritual and trust in the Father to provide labour physically as well, but labour spiritually.
Because when you do have a righteous woman, at the end of the day, at least have someone to build with. And if you build the correct family as according to Scripture, then I mean, who needs a Bentley, right? So
just healing together, isn't it? Growing together and healing. Like we need each other, the black man and the black woman.
But that's why I feel like this platform here is a good platform, because it's not where we're not trying to bash each other. But we need to come to a mutual understanding. And not like people always, the black man don't do that, and all the black women are always so angry. You want to be independent. Let's come together now on a calm one, on a mutual level. Let's talk about these things. Come now. Let's build and let's start to heal our wounds.
What do you need from me?
What do you need from me? That's the perfect question. Oh, that is. We need to do something like that. What do you need from me? That's a good time.
No, it's true.
I love that. What do you need from me?
But then you see, like obviously, we're all in the truth, so we understand the levels to what has happened to us as black people. How how we end up here, kind of thing. But it's like, if you've now come into the truth, whether you was married or getting married in the truth, because we know the levels of what's happened to us, and we know, okay, spiritually, we have an understanding of, okay, as a black man, right, this is what's happened to my ancestors. Okay, cool. This is what they have done. So let me now get past that. Let me get over it, because I know what they've done to me. Let me get out of that mindset now. You understand where I'm coming from? I can't now use that as an excuse anymore to say, you understand? Now you have a better understanding, and the same for a sister as well. You understand what has happened through our ancestors and why we're at the stage now. So we can't no longer use it as an excuse to be like, you understand? We're better than that now. We now have the knowledge.
We know where
so then where do you kind of find, I don't even know if you call it balance or whatever, where do we then say draw the line and be like, okay, look, we need to fix up ourselves?
You draw the line when you come in the truth.
That's right.
The Most High has given us the guide.
Mm-hmm.
This is how you should be as a man. This is how you should be as a woman. So forget that you never had a father to teach you. Your father left instructions.
That's right.
You need to follow that. And if you actually follow that, that's the way to live. You build a family, which means that there won't be children who aren't in the home, that you then raise those children the way it should be. And from that, everything, I think the destruction of the black family and this introduction of feminism. No black woman should be a feminist.
Hell no.
This introduction of feminism and women empowerment and the black woman is God is what's actually perpetrating all of that. Because we've got the instruction. We come into the truth. We've got the book. We come into the truth. I got instructions on how to be a wife. Forget that I was married before coming into the truth. When I came into the truth, I knew what it meant to be a wife.
Right.
Yeah, but
I didn't know before.
But what happens when you have the guidelines there, but some men or women choose to still ignore them, knowing their role? You know what I mean?
Between them and the Most High, then no, because
I mean, technically that's what it comes down to. But we obviously recognize that it does affect the body on a whole. You come into this truth thing, you're expecting, like, I have expectations of the sisters. There's a certain way I like to see them conduct themselves. Same with the men. The sisters want to see the same thing. So it's a letdown for the whole nation, and they need to remember, as much as it's between them and the Most High likes to judge us in like a nation. He does the mass thing. So it will make your body or your nation or your group suffer.
Because we bounce off each other, and if we see
He's
someone
trying to show us that we need to
block,
be dependent upon each other. It's not a one-man thing. So, I mean, with that, they do have what to answer for, but it's also a bad look for your entire nation.
But then that also goes down to then humbling yourself to then be corrected, because it goes back to, like, for a single parent, whether it's a mother or father. If you was raised, like for myself, I was raised with this my mum, so I didn't have that male figure around me to like show me what it is what is supposed to be how it's how it's supposed to be around males. Obviously, I had my uncle, but he didn't live with us, so it was only every so often that I had that male figure around. But then it's like, okay, then you come into the truth. You should then humble yourself to then be corrected. So, for example, when I first came into the body, I had this whole notion of a man can't tell me nothing, because that's how I was raised. I didn't have no male telling me nothing. Other than if I was in like school and have your teacher and a male teacher telling you, you can't do X, Y, and Z. But in the household, I only had my mum. So there was no male telling me anything. So when I come into the body now, obviously now it's a whole construct of you've got deacons, you've got elders and whatever. They're telling you and correcting you. You're going to get your back up straight. Well, for me anyway, I got my back up straight away. But then I had to come to a humbling place to hear, if I'm being reproved or whatever the case may be, take it. You understand? So then that then guides you into then building you up to being a wife. Because then you then understand the construct that is the Most High is Christ. You understand? Man, wife, and then your children. That's something that for me personally, I had to learn being in the body, and then obviously learning from looking at other people who are married and seeing how they are, how they operate as wives and how it's supposed to be. So this is the thing, like, for me personally, I just think that we can't be in the truth, can make excuses anymore.
No.
For me, I think we're far beyond making excuses anymore. I get that we have been downtrodden on as black people, but you get to a point where it's like, okay, that's it now. Like, you can't keep making, because I'm black, I can't get a job, because you understand, like, we can't use it as an excuse anymore. But that's just me personally. I can't.
It's true.
You're absolutely right.
Your mom taught you how to be a woman, but you say you didn't have that interaction with that father figure, so that you had she couldn't have taught you everything without having that male involved and having that experience. But you're in the truth, so you got taught all that understanding. A lot of our women out there aren't, and I think that's why some of our brothers also, and we have to take ownership, choose not to deal with them because of that. Man can't tell me anything attitude. And we can't ignore it. that's the common theme among brothers who go to other nations. Is that our black women are
You can't tell them yet.
They can't.
You said it's a respect thing, like the sisters we
Yeah,
don't
you need to
respect
be
the
respected,
males
yeah.
enough, like, and it's hurtful to them. I don't think we realise
that's
how
how-
key the submission thing is.
Yeah, that's literally
Yeah,
how
but
we.
with hand in hand with the submission, I need you to be able to lead.
Yeah.
You know, I need you
It's a
to
two-way
take the
thing,
courage
yeah.
to be
Yeah.
able to lead,
Yeah,
because
yeah.
without you, we're all going to fall apart,
Right,
and the
right,
audience is
right.
going to be completely lost.
The communication has to be totally open, because at the end of the day, as you said, what do we need from each other, right? Okay, so if the guy needs her to be a bit more submissive, one is also have to be willing to let go of the reins, because you'll think that, you know what, I'm actually giving him the opportunity to be the guy, but in actual fact, you're micromanaging. So you have to kind of watch these. Masters at that kind of stuff. So it's like he swear he's doing it on his own, but really,
The man in the chair, but on the neck, like
so, I mean, the communication has to be open, and I think that's why it's important to be in the truth, not some sort of consciousness or some sort of truth. The truth, because that's the only way you can really get on one accord, one ground. Okay, we're gonna build from this. What does the Most High say? Open up the lines of communication, and then you say, okay, let's do it like this. But if no communication, we ain't going nowhere.
And that's the thing, because a lot of us didn't have that growing up. So some that still had both their parents, or maybe both their parents up to a certain age. But if you didn't have that as an example, then who's your example?
You know,
Like, who do you understand? So it's literally through scriptures for me anyway.
As well, our nation is very secretive.
Yeah.
We need to hold everything in. Like with me growing up, see, he didn't have me. Like I had my dad for a certain time, and then he left. So then I had my mum, but like she was always very submissive, and I was kind of like the same as you. I ain't got the time for no man. What they do. But then mum corrected me, said, "No, you can't be like that." So where she was very submissive, I kind of took that on from her. But then she didn't grow us up in a household where I think, as a lot of black households are, there's no room for this kind of discussion. I'm going through this, or I feel this kind
Survival mode, constantly.
Survival mode. Like all she did was work and take care of our husband. Like I'm not saying she wasn't a good mother, but because you kind of raise yourself. Like me, and you go to your friends who are very worldly for advice and things like that, and it causes that downward spiral. We find so much about people go through. So
and that is typical. I mean, the good thing for, as I said, the good thing for you females is when we come to single parent households, it's usually the mom. At least she can teach you how to be a woman.
Basically,
You know what I'm saying? As a guy, predominantly growing with mom, it's now okay. You're kind of at a disadvantage when it's about time to be a husband or a man, because everything has to now be self-taught. So you're always at that slight disadvantage in that area. So I don't know, brothers got a lot of building to do.
But in the church, it's good that the scripture says, "Be fathers to the fatherless." Like the structure can be there. Like
it can be built for the truth. You're right, absolutely.
Because now you have a whole family.
Right.
A number of fathers that you can call rather than being out there
On your own,
So that's support.
looking to young brothers as father figures on the roads. That's not fathers, but like in the church, in the body, there's older brethren that can be that proper father figure.
We know how it goes with boys. Once we find that big brother or father figure on road, that's gone south. That's going way south. So it is good that the Most High gave us that structure and allow us to be able to have father figures within the church.
I think sometimes as well, a lot what some women can do, not all, because you've got some brilliant single mothers out there, but some women can tear down the man in front of the child.
Yeah.
So you grow up thinking all the worst things about your dad, but your dad is a reflection of you. that you're half your dad. So half you're telling me that I'm this, and you don't realize sometimes the message that's being sent down in terms of self-worth. If you're completely always tearing down that person, and then to a child, that man, if he's in and out of the child's life or see him occasionally, is king. That's daddy. They can't do anything wrong. It's not until they grow older and really see the light. But to that child, so when you tear down that, it does something for that child where they hold on to what's their self-worth. What am I worth? Am I not worth more than this? And there's like a self-fulfilling prophecy, because they tend to, if in a household where somebody got pregnant, the mother got pregnant as a teenager, the tendency is that the daughter will get pregnant as a teenager. If the father was doing something, then tendency is that the child is going to come and go straight if the dad wasn't doing what he meant to. So it does fulfill, but I think we also have to watch what we say to our children.
Yes, definitely. I agree, definitely, because obviously I grew up with my mum. She was a single mum, but my dad wasn't really in my life like that, and if he was, it's because I searched for him. Do you know what I mean? And I felt like I was being a parent to him. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I was like, why am I the one searching for you, Dad? Like, you know what I'm saying? It should be the other way around. But obviously my mum was always coming from a place of pain, because she saw what my dad being away did to us. Do you know what I'm saying? So she would always, I wouldn't say negative thing or input negative things in our head. It was just the fact that she was so let down by him, because she saw what she saw when she was raised. It was always her mom, her dad, so she didn't expect that from my dad. So, but obviously, so I'm getting that negativity from my mom. It's like, don't make that smile, you look like your dad. You know what I'm saying? But then when I'm with my dad, obviously I'm like princess to my dad, because I'm thinking, I never really see you. So when I'm with you, I'm trying to earn your affection, because you're telling me that I'm not good enough. You know what I'm trying to say? It's like, you're not here. But then at the same time, I'm thinking that he only loves me because I look like my mum. That's what I felt. You know what I'm saying? So
that happens.
It's hard. So I'm thinking, I'm grown now, and I've told you how I felt, but you still treat me the same way. So what do we really have? Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I'm in this truth now, and I'm like, okay, I got this structure. I do not want my kids to raise up like I did. Do you know what I'm trying to say? So I need it. It's definitely vital. It's definitely important. So I need the brothers to step up, because I ain't having no kids without the structure, the order being there. No way, not at this time.
It's down to realising that we need each other there. It needs to be the two of us together, not just one leaving the other. Like, I need you to be that person, and you need me to be that person, so we can come together. So,
on the point you raised earlier about not having an excuse, it's like those people who, I think, coming into the truth, I'm less angry about slavery because I understand why it happened. Before, I was really like,
you want and then you just go off the river.
But now I have that anger. Because I'm like, I know why. This happened because of us. I know why. So for me, I think we have to let go of that. When you hear the truth, you can't hold on to all this, because you know what to do.
Because we can reverse it.
That's it to do.
Nation build.
That's right.
So people aren't patient though. It's gonna take time. And, no, but not for real. But like, as especially Benjamin, we're very impatient people, right? But you know, it's like, okay, then so the most has coming to me, we need to get together now. Let's go. But you need patience, you need time.
Nah. Remember, like, we're very new into the truth, you know, and it's something that has been said many a times, like, we're babies. So you have to literally think of it as you've just been born, literally. So you're relearning as a 2-year-old. A 3-year-old, you're learning what your parents are telling you. Like, our word is obviously within the Bible. That's our learning. So we're still babies in this. So it is going to be a process. It's not going to happen overnight. Things that we're dealing with in the world for 20 plus years, you don't just go overnight. Like, you can't do that. It's impossible. So it's going to take time. It will take time.
It's getting worse, because everyone's about self now. do as thou will. It's like, and our people are getting so caught up in that world that it's scary. It's scary.
I can't feel sorry for them though. You just feel sorry for them, like
they're lost.
like I'm just looking at them. I'm like, we could be in a situation that I'm seeing something completely different to what somebody in the world is seeing. I'm just like, really? You can't be that blind, but people are. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy.
And I mean, we're just gonna have to come face to face with the fact that it's not for everybody.
But I'm trying to save as much as I can. I'm trying.
We definitely must try. It's a part of our works, isn't it? But at the end of the day, once we reside to the fact that, listen, it's only a few of us that's gonna make it, then you can realize that there are people out there doing a lot of things, but that's because a lot of them won't make it. That's just the basic equivalent. So we can only but try.
In sociology, they have this term called deferred gratification, and black people are very bad at that. So we're not able to wait. We can't wait for the kingdom. We want it now. And we want it in whatever that sense. We say, okay, you tell me about some mansion that I might have. No, I want a mansion now, so I'm going to chase it anywhere. And we're not able to put anything off. We tend to want everything now, can't wait, which is like different to maybe even the Asian man or the Indian man, where they will be working slowly towards something and they see a 10-year plan. They can see the end goal one, and build slowly to get there, but we want everything. We tend to want it straight away.
Well, it's that interdependence that we were talking about, because they work together, like they see each other as family, as brother, like they might not be directly related, but they will look out for each other. And we just need to start trusting in each other more and looking out for each other the same way that they do.
It's true.
It's power.
The other thing they do quite well, which helps build, is inheritance.
Pass on. They pass on.
It's
not about me, it's about you now that you're born type of behavior.
They do that well. Somebody's getting married, they put in towards, like, my dad was like, good luck. It's true.
It's more advice though.
To you.
Now these days it's more advice and example. Make sure you're saving money, have a little something, have fun, travel the world and do that. But I'm thinking, okay, but when you're gone, what are you leaving me though? You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm saying? It's like, but what are you leaving me?
Tangible, like
you leave me with nothing but memories. You know what I'm saying? I need more than that.
In a lot of our places.
We have to look after some people. You have to look after their parents. And I don't mean like physically, I mean financially. And burial, sometimes we have to take care of it. Whereas if you look at the other nations, generally they try. And it doesn't, sometimes we use the excuse of earnings. I worked with an Indian woman. Her husband worked in a factory and she worked like an admin assistant, and they both work, but they dress very simple, very plain. And she was like 40. They paid off the mortgage because what they did was they lived on one salary and used the other salary to pay in. But that they then had she sent her son to uni without him having to take a student loan because of what they placed the value on. But for them, it was important to invest in that, and I don't think we do enough of that. Your child's getting married, they're on their own to fund it, and you're like, Africans tend to do better at this. But if you don't, if there's no encouragement for that, because the first thing they're thinking, well, the man might left you and. I'm not helping you buy a house. Most people get a deposit for a house. In these Indian families, they get help towards a house or flat. That's a starting life.
It's not even that. It's like people like money's soon done anyway, so there's no point in saving it. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking, all right then, but you don't know when that's going to happen.
Sometimes then Caribbean ones tell you go homeless at the council. So cancel then.
And then people use the excuse, I can't afford it, but nails do.
Yeah.
They weaving your hair same way. You know what I mean? The kids well dressed.
We've just been taught completely wrong because, like you said, like we want everything fast. We want fast money, fast car. We want the house that's there. We want everything to just magically appear without having to work for it.
But that two-parent household helps. Like if we can't even get it together and have peace as husband and wife, and then to build, putting together, that's why then we can't give the children that advantage.
Yeah, right.
So
It comes to the family, isn't it? The family.